So once again, welcome to the Unshakable Foundation meeting of Cocaine Anonymous. This is a main share meeting, and today it's with lots of pleasure and lots of gratitude that we welcome Scott L, who's come to share on the topic of steps 4, 5, and 9 for up to about 40 minutes or whatever you're comfortable with, Scott, and then after which we'll open up for the Q&A portion of the meeting. So with that, Scott, it's over to you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Isaac. And hello, kids. My name is Scott Lee. I'm an addict. I got a bad case of it. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to treat it with you fine folks today. Thank you. And thanks, Young, for inviting me. I like to open with a quote from Lois Wilson, who was asked what she did in the moment of silence. And she said, I invite God to the meeting, just in case you didn't do that. But in case you don't have a God, you got here like I did, terrified that there might be a God. Borrow mine. I recommend it very highly. He's got a great sense of humor. Keeping me clean and sober since June 28, 1984. I've got a 40-year chip in my pocket. And that's a long time for a guy that only agreed to 28 days. So something must be working. So if you don't have a God, borrow mine for this time together. Address him as a God of Scott's limited understanding. Get you off on the right foot. And I'll meet you back here. Let's invite God to the meeting. Amen. I'm actually what they call try-addicted. I'm addicted to everything I tried. Maybe some of you can relate to that. And I am also not here as an expert. I am a very satisfied customer. And I want to talk a little bit about how I became that. I'm going to talk about when I was new. And would you raise your hand just so I can see it? If you're sober, clean and sober, less than a year, go see some hands. Raise them. Okay, great. Welcome. Thank you for doing that. Thank you very much. When I was that guy, I looked at those steps and it was obvious to me and couldn't have been clearer that 3 of those steps were designed to punish me. They were steps 4, 5, and 9 were clearly designed to make me pay the price for being the rotten SOB I had been. And I was sure of that. I must note that there was a time way back when I was sure I could quit drinking and drugs anytime I wanted to. Wasn't there for you that time, way back when? And here we are. So one of the things I've learned is that some of what I know for sure ain't so. And it turned out I was dead solid wrong in steps 4, 5, and 9. So I'm going to try to demystify those for you just a little bit. My experience has been, I wish I could go through them for the first time again. The massive spurt of growth and knowledge and wisdom that was simply given to me through that process was astounding. Starting first on step, and you need a God that's big enough, by the way. If you're afraid of God, it's going to be very difficult to even move into step 3. So if you got a God you're afraid of, I'd like to recommend that you fire him and borrow mine for a while. We'll see what happens. But a couple of points on step 4. Number 1, there are no surprises. You were there. Like, we ain't going to find something you don't already know. We're just going to kind of codify it a little bit, okay? Nothing to be afraid of. I recommend a spiral notebook or a composition notebook, something like this. And on the inside cover, write something subtle like, this is my 4th step. If I find you reading it, I will kill you and hide your body. Something subtle, but that carries your message. And then don't start leaving it laying around. A 4th step, as I understand it today, is a series of lists. A list is a series of words and phrases that run down a page. A series of lists, observations, or considerations. I use those words interchangeably. And prayers. They cover 3 specific aspects of self, which are resentment, fear, and sexual misconduct. That's kind of an overview on step 4. And it's very easy. As a matter of fact, I've got a new guy in step 4 right now. And he has commented that I said, this hard as it gets. He said, really? I said, yeah. All that fear you had, you're just wrong. I was too. I'm not cracking on you. I was there. I get it. And he just followed the process. I would make a couple of more points about step 4. One of them is if all you do on step 4 is right, you will have missed it completely. My lecture on step 4 runs 2 hours. And if you really think you want to hear it, if you Google Scott L. National AA step 4, it'll come up. I've been recorded a number of times talking about that. But I want to make a couple of points on it before I move on. The first one is you have my permission to do a lousy 4th step. A terrible 4th step. Get in there, do an awful one. Because if you have to do it perfectly, you can't pick up the pen. Do a terrible one. Because the fact is, if you're serious, if you're one of the ones that means it, in less than a year, you'll be taking a newcomer through the 4-step yourself. But when you take them, you go with them. So you have my permission to do a lousy 4-step. We're not setting a special alcove at the Hall of Fame for your 4-step. And we do not give a trophy every year for the best 4-step. And this is the trophy you are not going to get. I can't help that reading. If it turns it around and says 4-step trophy, never awarded. There's a trophy you ain't getting. There's no place for your name on this thing. You ain't getting it. So give yourself permission to do a lousy 4-step and just get in there and do it. Okay? It's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. Step 5 for me was fairly simple. And there are a number of perspectives on how to approach the steps. This is just simply what I do. There is a perspective of school in AA that says, and NA and CA and all the rest of them, that says that step 5 is read me your 4-step. I am not of that school. I find the forgiveness process and the resentment inventory powerful. I added the prayer on page 552. And through the forgiveness process, we dug the poison out of my soul. I began to outgrow my fear. I have a new sexual conduct. So there's no reason for me to read all that stuff to somebody. It says here on page 75, we pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark crane of the past. It's a confession. And I went through treatment in the summer of 1984, and I saw that 5th step coming. I decided I wanted what you guys had. And so I started doing what they told me. And I completed the, after I lived there, I completed this treatment center's alleged 4-step. Multiple choice fill in the blank. It was a nice try, fellas. Anyway, it wasn't a real 4-step, but as close as I knew how to come. And went back to the treatment center to a counselor named Bernie, he'd not been my counselor. But I realized I got to do this confession. And I can look at Bernie and tell he's ripped out of his gourd. And I know you know what that looks like. I'll describe it for you. He got this dumb grin. His face is real relaxed. When he walks, he just sort of shuffles. So you know what it looks like when somebody's ripped. I know you do. I thought, I'm going to take my 5th step with this junkie. 6 weeks later, he won't even know if we did it, much less what I said. He's the perfect choice. So I completed their alleged 4-step and went down to the treatment center and did my 5th step with Bernie, which is where I began to get relief. Now, if I'd been doing the actual steps, that'd be the ones out of this book. With actual sponsors, so I'd already done them out of this book, I would have gotten relief way before them. As an aside, Bernie was not actually stoned. He was sober over 20 years. That was Serenity. I didn't know what it looked like. Because I had this minor case of terminal newcomer thing. He's going to kill me really soon if I don't get some help with it. And the help comes through sponsorship. They offered you a sponsor, and they got someone who is assigning sponsees. If you don't think you need a sponsor, I'm going to put my information up. Call me and let me talk to you about sponsorship. If you don't think you need one, contact me. I'd like to talk to you about it. I saw a friend of mine getting his 22-year chip some time ago, and he said, when I was new, I didn't go to a sponsor because I didn't want anybody to tell me what to do. And he said, then it occurred to me, people tell me what to do all the time. Landlady telling me get out, cop telling me get in. Maybe I've got a sponsor to do what he says. Nobody else can tell me. It's been my experience for 22 years. It's been mine for 40. Yeah, it's magic. Every great athlete I've ever heard of had a coach. What a sponsor is in fact a sobriety coach, a clean coach. And I needed one badly. I didn't know it. My ego didn't think so. But anyway, so for me, step 5 was simply a confession. And this is how I do a step 5 now with a newcomer that I'm sponsoring. I don't let him schedule 5 until he's finished 4. I won't let him bash himself into finishing 4 because he has 5 scheduled. It's a bad mindset. We plan it. We sequester. We lock the door. We got a bathroom. We got water. We got tissue. We invite God. I ask him if he's nervous. If it's his first 5th step, I want him nervous. If he says no, he's not nervous, I say, we're wasting our time because you've already decided what you ain't going to tell me. If he's nervous, he's either decided to tell me or he's not sure. I'm good. I'll get it out of him. No problem. And so we pray like we did. Invite God to the process. I ask him to ask for clarity of mind and the courage to say it. And I ask God to make me perfect. Page 13 in the book, about 8 lines from the bottom, says I can do that because it's not for me. It's for him. When we come out of that prayer, I say, tell me now the single worst thing you ever did right now. I hear people doing 5th steps that last 2 and 3 days. Since I started doing them this way, I've only had one that ran over 2 hours, ran 2 hours and 20 minutes. We knock out the big ones first. If I let him take over, it's going to take him 2 days to get through telling me about stealing the candy bar out of the store to the big one. If I knock out the big ones first, the rest of it falls really fast. And I'm going to share with you the 2 worst pieces out of my inventory, not to impress you, because somebody here might die if I don't do it. And so I'm going to do it. And that's why. Typically for a heterosexual male, his worst one is a homosexual experience. I've heard way over 100 fifth steps. I've only heard 6 that did not have that from heterosexual males. Now, I sponsored several gay guys, and what twisted them up was trying to have heterosexual relationships. I'm not judging anyone here. I'm saying this is your perspective. What's the single worst thing you ever did? And when they tell me what they did, I tell them when I did that, and I almost always did. I had my last homosexual experience when I was 19, started when I was 12. I never really liked it. I suspect that it was because my father had beaten me down so hard that I could not tell anybody no for any reason. I was 19. Please note that my demeanor did not change when I shared that with you. We talk about a new freedom. The old freedom was a couple of hits, a couple of lines, 4 shots of Cuervo Gold, and I could come out and play. The new freedom is I've received forgiveness for the worst things I've ever done. And I'm out of the judgment business, and it has freed me. This next one, if you've done what I'm about, and if you've got that one, any of you guys have got that one, and it's the one that you had not been able to tell anyone, I'm going to post my information. Call me. We'll talk about it. Let me help you through it. I'd love to. I'd love to. The other one, and if you've done this and you're okay with it, I'm okay with it. I'm not here to indict you. This is simply my story. And because someone might die if I don't do this. As a young man, I paid for an abortion. Felt like I'd killed one of my own children. And I didn't, it tore me up. Usually the worst one is one of those 2. And then I say, okay, what's your next worst one? What's your next one? And I just tell him every time when I did the same thing he did. When we get, if he names one I haven't done, I say, well, I've heard it before. It's no big deal. When he gets to the end and can't think of him anymore, I ask him a series of questions. Have you physically harmed anyone? I don't mean a bloody nose on the schoolyard. Have you done any damage to anybody? Have you had sex with a family member or an animal? I'm going to have to consult my notes because I don't remember what the other ones are. Is there anything you decided not to tell me or you weren't sure that you haven't already told me? And then I read him the 5th step promises. I send him home to do the back half of step 5, which is the review. And then 6 and 7 are the same day, according to my book. Talk about step 9 and how I take somebody into step 9. Don Pritz was my great teacher. If you don't know that name, do yourself a big favor. Get a couple of Don's talks. Don P., Denver, Colorado. I asked him, what's a sponsor's primary responsibility? And he says to not allow the sponsee to settle for relief, but get him all the way to recovery. By the time I get him to step 9, he's got relief. He's got a new job. He's been promoted. He brings the entire paycheck home. He knows where all the dents in the car came from. His key fits in the front door. That's a miracle. He walks in, they don't scatter. Another miracle. His phone rings. That's a miracle. He answers. Another miracle. He's sleeping in the big bed again. Now, he may not have crossover privileges, but he's sleeping in the big bed again. So his motivation has waned. And my job is to not let him settle for relief, but get him all the way to recovery. So having started scheduling these things, and I talked to him about what this amend might be. We're not asking you to turn your will and life over to someone who may be in love with hating you. So the person receiving the amend is not final authority in what the amend is. My sponsee and I are final authority prayerfully. We need to hear what he thinks it should be, but he's not final authority. And I've just covered the big one first for me. On page 83 in the book, I talked about that unborn child thing. Did you notice also my demeanor didn't change then? It didn't change because I have found the freedom on that. I've received the gift of forgiveness on that. Page 83 says, some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter. I was shown how to write that letter. For me, it was an unborn child. For you, it might be a grandparent, a spouse, a best friend, somebody who's already gone to the other side. My experience has been step 4 has writing in it. but it's the observations and prayers that will change your life in step 4. This letter has writing in it. It is the tears that will clean your soul. I'm told that my tears are the holy water that washes the windows of my soul. This thing is about crying. If you can't cry, I'd like to recommend you learn to cry first. If you can't cry, send me an email. I had to be taught. I hadn't cried in over 20 years when I came to you. And the guy in my home group taught me to cry. No baby was ever born unable to cry. If you don't quit that crying, so we learn not to cry. It can be unlearned. I need to warn you, gentlemen, if you start crying at appropriate times and places, you're going to attract a lot of women. Do not call me and complain about this, because I told you right here up front, right? They're sick of that John Wayne act you're doing, and they see right through it. Don't you, ladies? Yeah, they're not buying that garbage. So go get real. It really upsets them, okay? And the way I suggest you write the letter is you write until you can cry. And as soon as you can cry, lay the pen down and cry as long as you can. I think it's good to have someone there who loves you, who will prayerfully hold the space and love as you go through this process. When the tears stop on their own, write again until you can cry again. And then I recommend at the end, you sign it love and that you burn it, not in the sense of destroying it, just send it in smoke. It's a phenomenal experience. And if you owe amends to somebody who's gone to the other side, I hope you'll take a run at this. If you want some more detail, call me, contact me. I'll be more than happy. It's one of my great privileges is to share these magnificent gifts that I have been given. A couple of other things with the new guy that I'm sponsoring. I tell him, don't take the 4th breath when you're making amends. If you talk long enough, you're going to throw an excuse for yourself and take away all the power for the other person. You get 3 breaths. That's it. And your mother doesn't need to hear your fifth step. She does not need for you to replay the things you think that damaged her. Mom, I wasn't as good a son to you as I could have been. I know I did some damage. I'm living a better life now that I know you always wanted from me, and I'm cleaning up the past. Can you tell me how I can repair the damage I've done to you? End of discussion. Now, if she wants to talk about it, we need to listen. Absolutely. But she does not need to hear my fifth step. Absolutely does not. That's the kind of thing that we do on this. If it's a financial amend, I like for him, if he owes $1,000, I want him to show up with at least 100. If you're absolutely sure you can pay him 100 a month, promise 50 and pay 100. Under promise, over deliver. It's a new concept for most of us. We've been over promising and under delivering for a very, very long time. I do not allow the men I sponsor to use the word sorry. Nobody believes sorry anymore. You wore sorry out 2 decades ago. Nobody buys sorry. I was wrong. I believe I harmed you. I'm ashamed. Or a combination of those is really good. Sorry. They don't buy that. They don't buy it. This one is tricky, but I think it's very powerful. It's given to me, John Edmonds. If you don't know that name, get one of John's talks. He and I led a retreat up in Calgary some time back, and a couple of ladies recommended this one. The question is, how does a guy approach a lady whose charms he availed himself of lightly without making her feel cheap? Doggone good question. This is what we got. First, don't contact her. Get a lady from your home group to contact her. You don't want her to have to turn to her new husband and explain who that guy was on the phone and what he called about. Don't let that happen by allowing a woman from your home group to call and say, I'm friends with Scott. He believes he's harmed you. He'd like to make amends. Are you willing for him to make amends? If she says no, we're through. If yes, you want an email, you want a phone call, you want in person. If a sponsor of mine wants in person, I'm going with him. And here are the amends. I was as good a friend to you as I could have been, and I disrespected you. And I'm ashamed of it, and I believe I may have harmed you. You need to talk to me about the harm. What can I do to make it right? The end. The end. Just like that. That's enough. I'm going to kick the top off the anthill. I don't believe in living amends. When I was new, I decided I'll just make living amends. What that meant to me was I'll just go ahead and be a good guy, and that'll be good enough. Well, it's not. It is absolutely not good enough. And I'll tell you this, too. My amends to my children are complete. And I want you to hear me. I hear a lot of people say, my amends to my children are complete. I don't believe that. I sat down with them one at a time. We talked about it. I asked them to talk to me about the harm. We knocked it around. I asked for their forgiveness. They gave it. I received it. Today, I'm being the best father I can be. It is not 9-step work. It's 12th. Spiritually awakened men who have children try to be good fathers. If I think it's 9-step work, I have not accepted their forgiveness or God's or my own, and I have work to do. I'm trying to be the best dad I can be today. It's not 9-step work. That's an important piece for me. Come down off the cross that day. It isn't necessary. So many more things I want to talk about. I also start my newcomer sponsoring when I get him to step 8. By this time, he's got some message. He's ahead of a lot of people in a lot of meetings he's going to be in. And to keep him moving through step 9, I get him sponsoring. And they always say, I'm not ready. I said, good. I hope you don't ever think you're ready. I hope I don't ever think I'm ready. I hope I always remember I need the help. And we're going to get you a newcomer. And we're going to get that newcomer's permission for you to talk to me in detail about his life. And I will coach you through coaching your newcomer through these 12 steps. And we'll do that as many times as necessary to maintain the integrity of the message. It's what the package is about. I give you this is a gift from Linda Q, my former wife. And I'd never heard of it. I got it from her. She calls it good amends. She says, you're aware of your sins of commission, the things you did that harm people. What you missed are the things you didn't do that harmed them. So like what? She said, who deserved to be thanked, really thanked, that you didn't thank? And I sat and thought about it. As a senior in college, I'm going to ROTC. The Air Force arranged for me to get 30 hours of flying time in a small plane to set me up for Air Force pilot training. And my instructor pilot was a retired Air Force colonel, and he saw immediately that I was one of the gifted ones, and he would not let me coast. He worked me like a rented mule. I could never please him, and he made me fly it the best I could, and he set up my Air Force career. I never finished lower than second in anything I ever did in an airplane, never lower than second. I went back and thanked him for that. I went back and thanked my major professor in college. I would have never graduated without you, Dr. Lundeen. I would have never graduated. You saved my life and you changed my life, and I learned so much from you. Thank you. And at a very different time, I went to my mother. I've already told you about the amends to mom. At a very different time, I went to her and I said, thank you. Thank you for being my mom. Thank you for the freedom I had. Thank you for all I learned. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your pain that I put you through. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you. Nobody ever had a better mother than I did. You were magnificent. You were fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then I went home and I wrote that in a letter and I mailed it to her. My mother died in a nursing home of Alzheimer's. She didn't have much left at the end. She had that letter. And I ask you, I challenge you, to whom do you owe amends? Who didn't get thanked? Who didn't get thanked? It's a magnificent experience. There are 2 things necessary to do step 9. The first one is the first 8 steps while being coached by a sponsor who's already done them. The second one is adult supervision. Jerry Crow told me 40 years ago, the steps are numbered so geniuses like Scott don't try to take them out of order. If you're new, don't be starting on step 9. It ain't time. You're not going to make an amend. You're going to make a mess. Believe me, I did. Don't do it. Don't do it. Someone asked me the other day, I was doing one of these, and they said, how do I forgive myself? And the answer is the self-forgiveness comes in step 9. It's when I take responsibility. That's where that happens for me. I have permission to tell the stories I tell. This guy I sponsored on the schoolyard one day, and about 10 years old, grabs another kid's stocking cap behind his back. No one sees, just the cap's gone. When no one's looking, he flings it up in a tree and it disappears. And that kid's from a poor family and goes through that winter without a hat. And here we are 30 years later. He doesn't know the kid's name. The school is no longer there. Obviously, there's no way for him to make amends. Don't you ever believe it. And he and I sit prayerfully. And the next day, all the kids at the orphanage get a stocking cap. And my sponsee gets free. A way will be shown. A way will be shown. Prayerfully, a way will be shown. Another one that I sponsor, he had been living in a borrowed car And he had just put together enough money to get into an efficiency apartment. He came home to an answering machine, and the answering machine has this voicemail on it. This is Agent Smith at the Internal Revenue Service, and you have an appointment in my office Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock at 1010 Church Street, Suite 400. If that's in conflict with your schedule, I'd like to suggest you change your schedule. Click. He said, what should I do? I said, go. And I said, get together all the paper they've asked for. And you want God to be real in your life? Treat him like he's real. Ask him to go with you in your morning meditation. Hold the front door for him. Go down to the car. Open the passenger door. Move the junk. Ask him to get in. Close the door. Drive the car in a manner that neither endangers nor enrages any of his other children. Get where you're going. Walk around the car. Open the door. Ask him to go in with you. He called me that evening, and he said, I walked into the agent's office, and there were 2 chairs on my side of the desk, and I knew I was going to win. And 6 months later, they wrote him a check for $1,200. Yeah. They done him for $160,000 is what they wanted. And they wound up writing him a check for $1,200. Don't doubt the power. Don't doubt the power. A business friend of mine, I just talked to him the other day. He said, a number of years ago, he said, I've been watching you for a long time, and I've seen what those 12 steps have done for you. I'm not an addict or an alcoholic, but can I take the steps? And I said, sure you can. Having me as a close friend qualifies you for Al-Anon, and I'll take you through the steps. Here are the rules. I want you to go to 2 Al-Anon meetings a week. You don't have a glass of wine with your steak. You don't smoke a joint with your girlfriend on the way into the bedroom. I want you absolutely present. And he said, yeah, no big deal. I thought, yeah, no big deal. Anyway, and I'll take you through this work. And in step 9, he went back and made amends to a lady whose charms he had availed himself of lightly once, and discovered a daughter and 2 grandchildren he didn't even know existed. Today, they're a family. Miracle after miracle after miracle come in this 9th step. They just keep coming. I don't usually tell this, but my own experience. I flew a gunship in Vietnam. I flew the original side-firing gunship, Puff the Magic Dragon. And I had a sales manager who lived in another city, another state, who had been a Green Beret. And he had gone into Laos. And when he got there, the Kill tribesmen were carrying crossbows. He took them M16s that led them in combat for 2 years on the ground. He doesn't know how many times he killed with his hands. He doesn't know. And we don't know that my gunship that I was flying ever worked with him, but guys flying my airplane saved his bacon a number of times. We were very close. And he came to my city one time, and we were drunk together, and he told me he was sleeping with the boss's daughter. And I was drunk one time and said something about it, got back to him, and I lied my way out of it. Well, I get sober, and he comes back to Nashville. I realized I got to make amends to this man. And I did what I just told you. I invited God to go with me. I put him in the passenger seat. I drove down carefully. And I can remember standing outside his hotel room door, getting ready to knock, realizing if I go in here and tell this man the truth, I could be dead in the next 5 minutes. If this man decides to kill me, I can't even slow him down. No way in the world. And because I don't hold myself up as this shining example, I don't think I am one. But because of what you had done with me, I was able to knock on that door and walk in there and tell that man the truth. And a month later, my wife and I were guests in his home for a week. Don't doubt the power here. I sponsor several men in other countries. And one of them, when he first got sober and started sponsoring other guys, he would call me and say, my sponsee did the following. What's the amend? And I said, you and he need to sit prayerfully multiple times. A way will be shown. If it's not, call me back. He doesn't call. He just doesn't call because it isn't necessary. This is one of the most magnificent. If I could tell our entire fellowship a single thing, it might be this one. Lady friend of mine in another state told me she was sponsoring a woman who had prostituted herself. I don't think generally, my name needs to be on my 9-step list. I've been making amends to myself for a long time. Most of us don't need to be there. This is an exception. And this woman, what they came up with Well, she sat down with a pencil and figured out how much money she had made selling her body. And she made that amount of money legitimately and donated it to Magdalena House and some other charities that help women get out of prostitution. And what she said was, I sold my self-esteem. I'm buying it back. Man, don't doubt the power. Isn't that powerful? Please share that. Don't doubt the power. You know, they tell me if I want to strengthen the muscle, I should use it. I claim I want to have stronger faith. Welcome to step 9. Welcome to step 9. I hope I haven't scared anyone with this. This is just such an amazing experience. I wish I could have it for the first time again, to go through, to make that good amend to my mother, to make amend to that Green Beret, and the phenomenal lift I got from it. The lift I got from step 5, something inside me released when I told him the truth. And I was sure when I told him that truth that those 2 worst things I'd ever done would never see the light of day. And here I am telling him into a microphone being recorded. I'm not saying you'll have to do that, but I'm saying it is a new freedom. The difference between, for me, from being free and being at large, I was at large before I got here. I took no responsibility. Being free includes responsibility. Some of you heard me tell this story. I've been telling it a lot recently, but I was sitting by a stream and I looked across and I saw a cloud. It occurred to me, every drop of rain in that cloud is following God's will perfectly. Every one of them, I know they are. So is that tree, so is the bird in the tree, so are the minnows in the stream. Why can't I? It was on me hard. Why can't I? I got my answer, and the answer is, I am. I am convinced to the depths of my soul, God did not put me here to be perfect. If you think you're supposed to be perfect, good luck. You're going to need it. But if it's not my job to be perfect, what's my job? My job is to make mistakes. They've sent the right guy. Oh, yeah. So here's the definition. A mistake is an invitation to a lesson. The evidence is, if I already learned the lesson, I would not have made the mistake. It's just an invitation to a lesson. So here's the learning process. And all my life, they say, well, we learn from our mistakes. Really? Well, in that case, I'm not looking at anybody that's been arrested more than once. You bet. Good luck on that. No. People like me do not learn from our mistakes. They're wrong. They don't. We learn from living with the results of our mistakes. That's what we just talked about. So here's the learning process as I understand it today. 1, make a mistake. 2, be notified I made a mistake. I don't always know. Sometimes you got to tell me. 3, own the mistake. Oh, yeah, that was me. I did that. And if they only know 80%, I got to tell them the other 20. It's how I own it. 4, consult a spiritual advisor about how to 5, make the amend. Usually, not always, there's an amend to be made. 6, embrace the lesson. The lesson comes with the making of the amend, not with the making of the mistake. I'm like the dog that wet on the rug. What did he learn? Nothing. When you start learning, when you rubbed his nose in it, me and the dog prefer to have our nose rubbed in it. That's how we learn. So 6 is embrace the lesson by making the amend. 7, share the lesson. That's what really sets it for me. 8, when I share the lesson, I have to tell you I made a mistake. If I just share the lesson, I'm preaching and nobody wants to hear it. If I stand as the sinner beside a sinner, he can hear me. 9, make the next mistake. I have no idea what God's plan is. I know what God's will is. It's for me to screw up. I'm here. That's why I'm here. It's my mission. It's my mission. There is such a freedom in that. So I have my own permission to make mistakes. I hope you get yours. I have my own permission to make mistakes because you just heard what I do with them. But that's only half the freedom. The other half is all of you have my permission to make mistakes. That includes all my family members, all my sponsees, major politicians in all countries, the ones I like and the ones I don't. Those of you who got your driver's licenses out of cereal boxes, everybody has my permission to make mistakes. Because if I'm going to be upset by your behavior, I'm a prisoner of your behavior. I don't want to be a prisoner anymore. I was a prisoner long enough. So half the freedom, I have my own permission to make mistakes. The other half is you have my permission to make mistakes. And those 2 things have freed me to be right here. Hardest assignment I've ever been given is 1 day at a time. To just simply be here. To just be here. My mind races off into the past, reliving victories, some of which may have actually happened, or off into the future trying to figure it all out, plan B and plan C. And I like to read you the first 2 sentences in the big book chapter, figuring it all out, but we don't have that chapter. So I'm not going to be able to do that. And what that tells me, it ain't my job to figure it all out. I just need to be here. There's one who has all power, that one is God. May you find him now. Notice that when I find God, it's where? My God is the God of right here, right now. I believe all the good questions contain the word today, and all the good answers contain the word today. Question is not, what am I going to do about my finances? Bad question. What am I going to do about my finances today? Feel the difference in those questions? What do you do about my relationship? What do you do about it today? Feel the difference? Get here, be here, stay here. Get between the claps. It's where the magic is. I can see about 50 of you. Do something for me. If you're okay, right this second. Ignore the past and future, but right this second, be okay. Nod for me like this. Nod for me if you're okay right now. All right, great. Thank you. How about now? How about now? Yeah. To get right here between the claps. It's where the magic is. The other thing that I've learned rather recently is I've discovered the source of all of my anger. I'll tell you where it all comes from. It comes from being absolutely certain I was right. I've never been angry while I'm also sure I was right. Being right comes from having passed judgment. I have to judge to be right, to be angry. So judgment is the grandmother of anger, and it's the real problem. That's why I can't work on my anger. It's a symptom. The problem is I judge. I don't believe God put me here to judge. And about 11 years ago, I added that to my morning prayer. I don't judge any people, and I don't judge any situations. I'm not doing it perfectly. Boy, it has improved dramatically when I don't judge. I claim to serve the God of love, and I believe it's a full-time job. I don't get any breaks on that. Part of that is try to lift the spirits of everybody I come across. When I find myself at page 87, pause when agitated. God's waiting patiently for me in the pause. And I go to him and say, Father, I've judged again because I'm angry. Please take away this judgment and anger and grant me sadness and love. Anger and judgment, if I come back with them, are going to be a problem later. Sadness and love travel well together, and they open my heart and the other heart. And I want to serve the God of love all the time. Part of my morning prayers, I don't miss any chance to be of service today or spread love and joy. So when traffic comes to a stop, I put on my clown nose, which I am carrying all the time. I start blowing bubbles out the window to attract the other driver's attention. And they see the clown nose start laughing, and I start laughing because that's funny. And laughter is contagious. We're still stuck in traffic. I've turned it into a party. If we stay stuck, if there's a wreck, I start passing these out. I'm carrying maybe 100 of each of these in the car right now. I got them all the time. I'm walking through an airport or a grocery store, and there's a mom there with 2 kids. I'm going to tell you right now, those are good kids. They're just having a hard day. And I get about 3 meters away from them, and I nose up. I start blowing bubbles. And the crying stops right this second, and kids will lock onto bubbles like a good bird dog coming on point. And I go up to mom. I say, look, I'm a stranger, and I don't want to give anything to your children, but if the kids can have the bubbles and clown noses, I'd like to give them to you. In the last 2 years, I've had one lady turn me down once. What happens then? What happened? Those kids had their day lifted. Who else? Mom. Who else? Everyone that saw it. Who else? Me. If I'm sloshing love and joy all over you, they splatter onto me every time. Steps 4, 5, and 9 are about digging the poison out of my soul so I can be an open vessel to receive the love so that I can pass it on. I think the love all comes from God. I've been having more fun with this. My third sponsor picked up the nickname Rusty. At the end of his drinking, he was drinking mouthwash mixed with Kool-Aid, and he wet his pants so many times his zipper rusted shut, and we nicknamed him Rusty in honor of the zipper. And he had 2 pieces of wisdom that I just use constantly. One of them, he said, I'm not responsible for what I think. I'm responsible for how long I think it. Can't keep garbage from showing up here. Gets dirty up here, I can sweep. That is my responsibility. The other one he said, which I think is maybe the best piece of advice I ever got. He said, sanity, he said, in the history of our planet, no human has ever been put in an insane asylum for being insane. Never, not once. Put us in there for acting insane. Nobody's ever been let out for being sane. Let them out for acting sane. So in those days when you're crazy, if you don't act on it, they won't know. Don't tell them they're not ready. Pick up the phone. Tell one of us we're ready and we're not all crazy on the same day. I think that might be the best piece of advice I've ever gotten. Yeah. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. This has been an awful fast 40 minutes for me. I hope it has for you. If you borrowed my God and you got touched here in this time, you might want to do that again. If you invited your God and you were touched, I think that's what that moment of silence is for, to acknowledge the presence of deity. I'd like to do that right now and tell you, this thing we do here is about helping me evolve into who I've always really been. Not to change me into anything, but help me understand that God was not having a bad day when he created me or any of you. And I love you with all my heart, and I am out of time. No, but I'm about to put my contact information. If you'll send me an email, I've got a 2-page Word document that I wrote on how to learn to cry, and I'll be absolutely thrilled to send it to you. I'm typing it in here right now. Watch for it to come up. But it's an amazing thing. And when I've had a good cry, I feel like I've taken a shower and dried off in the sunlight. It just does this wonderful thing for me. Wonderful, wonderful thing. And the biggest crowd I've cried in front of was about 11,000, they said. I'm not embarrassed by my tears. And I figure anybody who disrespects a man that cries, I don't want what he has. I don't care what he thinks. That's me.
Thank you, Scott. Next, we have Michael. Michael, would you like to come in with your question?
Yeah, thank you, Isaac. And thank you, Scott, for that absolutely mind-blowing message. Amazing. I feel like I was on day one. So my question is in regards to judgment being, the source of anger. I can quite often, especially when I'm doing nighttime imagery, find myself being very judgmental, and I don't often act on it, but it's in my mind, and I pause, and then I think I've paused, and I think I've prayed, and I think I've asked for it to be removed, and then Michael's still being judgmental. So very often I think my God sounds like Michael. So I was just wondering what your practice, have you ever experienced that where you've prayed for it to be removed and asked for corrective measures, and then you're still in the same mindset? And if so, what do you do?
Yeah, I can just report a lot of progress on this thing. And you might want to add that to your morning prayer, that you don't judge anybody or any situations at all. And I think that will be a good start. And what happens for me, it happened to me yesterday. I was in a situation and there was a rather well-nourished woman, if you take my meaning. And I was thinking about how unattractive that was. And here's what happens to me so quickly. What flashes through my mind when I judge like that is, Scott, you think that's unattractive? What do you think she thinks? She has fought the good fight. Do you think she doesn't know what that looks like? She is trapped in there. And she has fought as hard as she could. That's the best she could do. And if you were trapped in there, you might not be doing anywhere near that well. Bless that child, Father. I can't imagine how hard her life is. Blessings on her. Blessings on her. Thank you. That's what happens.
Thank you for your question, Michael. Kevin, would you like to come in?
Thank you, Isaac. My name is Kevin Scott. It was brilliant listening to you. I don't usually catch this meeting. It was fantastic to hear you tonight. And I was compelled to raise my hand and ask you, in 11 days' time will be the first anniversary of me getting a phone call one Friday morning to tell me that my son had died. And I have struggled with God, and I have fought with God, and I have felt anger towards God, and I felt anger. Just hearing you and hearing all that explanations about how you bring God with you and doing the amends and all that. I just want to ask you, could you speak to me a bit maybe about how to make that amends with God?
Yes, I've already posted, and if you'll contact me, I'd like to talk to you in depth about this, but it's something for everyone. I don't think of myself as this body that you see. I did forever. If I think of myself as the body, death looks like the ultimate bad deal. Once I realize I'm not the body, I'm the spirit that inhabits the body, death becomes moving day. I'm going to move out of this beat up efficiency apartment into a universe and more. There's a storm on Jupiter that's twice the size of Earth. I want to see it up close and I want to know why it's there. I want to travel the stars and the nebula. I want to walk through the pearly gates and hug my mother again and tell her what a great mom she was. Death was invented by the same God who invented smallmouth bass, vanilla ice cream, and sex. Good job. Thank you. Same guy. I've seen his work. It is therefore good. It has a bad reputation among us, but it is therefore good. And when I got that perspective, it changed it all. I'm 81 years old. I'm excited about dying. I think it's the great adventure. I'm not eager, but I'm excited about it because I am blessed with this tremendous faith. But if you'll call me, I got a book I'd like to recommend to you, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about it. I've also got a sponsee that I would like for you to talk to. I'm going to give you his number. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin, for your question. Danny, would you like to come in?
Yeah, thanks, Isaac. My name's Danny. I'm an addict, and thank you so much, Scott. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. My question for you is, you talk about the release you got from the fifth step, and certainly that's been my experience. I know in the 12 and 12 it talks about doing annual fifth steps, and I know a lot of people I've listened to tapes and stuff like that talk about doing like these annual fifth steps. Is that your experience, or do you do annual, semi-annual, and get that sort of release once again, which sort of leads you on again to the ninth step amends process? Thank you.
Thank you. What a great question. No, I don't. I just try to stay current every day. When a songwriter, I'm in Nashville, and we got some song people, which I should sing you the Alcoholic Addict theme song. Are you ready? Me, 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 me. Anyway, I shouldn't have done that because I lost my train of thought. What'd you ask me again? I got old.
I was just asking you about when you're talking about the release you get from the fifth step. Have you done multiple
I
steps
have not
or
gotten
just
that.
one? Or?
Yeah. I think I've been through the steps about 28 times, and I have not had a really wow experience through that in over 30 years. I know on my fourth step, when I was sober 10 years, I discovered resentments over 25 years old. I hadn't been able to see until then, but I've not had a big experience from them. But I've had a tremendous number of big experiences, mostly working one-on-one with someone or hearing one of my teachers talk. I would hear a breakthrough. I don't think there's a last lesson. There's always another lesson, which is one of the most exciting parts of this thing. I do recommend going through the work multiple times, but the best way to do that is to take a newcomer. I just picked up a guy that's only got 2 years, and I'm taking him through the work, and I'm going to go with him, which I think is the best way to do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny, for your question. Sophie, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm an addict. It's really good to hear you, Scott. I was particularly zoned in on the bit you said about amends with your children, and I just wanted to ask you. I had a message. I'll just give you a bit of context off my son. He's about to turn 21 on Mother's Day. I tried to do amends with him about 3 years ago, and he was very angry. And I think I talked too much about AA. And he was very angry and said that it was a choice that I chose alcohol over him. And he's been very angry ever since. And on Mother's Day, I got a message of him saying that he was sorry he had been so distant and that he's agreed to meet me in April when he comes home from uni for Easter break. And in the message, he said, I want to say that despite everything that's happened, I'm extremely proud of your commitment to others and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm just absolutely full of fear. And asking, I know I was going to get upset, for your guidance, any advice and guidance on how, because he's really angry. He doesn't understand alcoholism and he's very angry on how to approach it.
Yeah, thank you. The first thing I would say is, wow, I'm excited for both of you. The second thing is that thing about inviting God to go with you and acting like he's coming, hold the door and all that. It's good stuff. Believe me, it's good stuff. I also do the love meditation every morning, and it's a visual. Love is a column that comes down out of heaven, down through the top of my head, up my nose, my mouth, and my chest. And I send and I swirl it around people. And I'm sending love to all my sponsees and their significant others, to all my family members. Some people I know they're having a difficult time physically. I don't tell God to heal them. He doesn't need my instructions. I just send them love. I'm sending love to my husband-in-law. Y'all probably don't know the term. Husband-in-law. My husband-in-law is a man that's married to my first wife. Okay, it's a husband-in-law. Y'all not from the South. And he's dying of cancer. I'm not mad. I'm sending love. I sent love to all of you this morning about first light in my bed in meditation. I did a lot of meditation, and I sent love to all of you because I know I was going to see you today. Do that too. Do that too. And ask God for faith. I learned this past year. I've been asking, praying for faith and getting it for a long time. I can ask for specific faith. And I asked him last year. I've made a lot of money in my life, and both of my former wives are real thrilled about that. And I don't have a whole lot of it anymore. And what I asked him was, I didn't ask him for money. I asked him for faith that I would believe that he would cover me from now on financially, as long as I just try to be his guy. And I've gotten that faith. My financial situation has actually gotten a little bit worse, but I'm okay now. You can ask for specific faith that God will give you the love you need and the words you need when you see your son. What a fabulous question. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question, Sophie. And finally, we have Janie. Would you like to come in?
Namaste, Janie. Grateful recovered addict. Thanks everyone for this meeting. And yeah, Scott, thank you so much. I love what you said about thank you. So I just want to say thank you to you because you don't know what you did for me a few weeks ago. Somebody sent me a link for a meeting and I believed that sponsee that you just mentioned earlier, I heard him share. And at the time, my daughter was really, really unwell. I actually thought she was going to die from this illness. And the guy that sent me the link, I thanked him so much for the guy's share. And he sent me your share. And that evening, I believed that you carried a message to me from God. And as a result of that, my daughter's sitting over there and she's 15 days.
Wow.
She's 15 days. And I want to say thank you because I enjoy saying thank you so much more today than I do saying sorry. And I do have a question for you as well. I hear lots and lots of talk about morning devotion and quiet time. And I hear people talk about step 10 more frequently now, thank goodness, in constant prayer and meditation, you know, the power now being rocketed into the fourth dimension. What I want to ask you is, what is your prayer and meditation life like of an evening when you retire of a night time? Do you pray and meditate?
Yes, I do. And that's step 11, by the way. Step 10 is about being present in my own life during the day. My morning prayer is I open it by thanking God for a bunch of things. It seems to open the channel. And then I invite him in as God, CEO, manager, boss. I use all those terms. And I offer myself to him. And I note that I am not drafted. I'm a volunteer. And I'm volunteering for service. And I ask him to empty me of self and fill me with his love, shaken together, pressed down, heaped up, overflowing, that may gush over me, all of everyone that I meet today. I ask him that I might be a great listener today, which is one of the most loving things you can do. That I might be a great giver, not just of my money, but of my time and attention. That I not judge any situations or any people. I believe planet Earth's a school. I think I probably flunked out of somewhere else. I was expelled as a behavior problem, but I think it's a school. And I ask him to make me a great student today. I ask him to bless me. I do not miss any chance to be of service, to spread love and joy. I don't miss any of his guidance. I quit praying for guidance 35 years ago. When I pray for guidance, I give him God his instruction. Again, big fella, take a knee. Let's go with the guidance. That has never worked very well for me. And I also believe that a loving God is sending his guidance as a free and clear gift every day. I don't need to pray for guidance. I need to pray to be open to his guidance. All the blocks in the channel between me and God are at my end. I ask him to bless me that I might be the man that my lady deserves. I might treasure her and cherish her. I might be an open channel for him into her life, and she'll be an open channel for him into my life. I ask him to make me a channel. And then I do that love meditation I told you about to a whole lot of people. And then I ask for humility, and I ask for faith, and I ask him, how can I best serve you today? How can I thank you? At night, I open again with thank you, and I do this lying down after the lights out. I thank him for just a random group of things, and then I review the day. What did we do well? What did we miss? What do I need to clean up? Did I miss any chances to be of service? Did I miss any chances to thank someone? What did I miss? And I do another love meditation to all of those people, and offer him tonight. And thank you. What a great question, Jamie.